Do you know what? There's nothing finer than a really, really, really nice coffee. These mugs, I don't know where these come from actually. I know my mother-in-law bought me them, but I don't know where they came from. I think Wales, I think they're hand painted. Pretty cool, look quite good. Take a look at that, they're pretty good. There's like a matching pair and another design that go along with it. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so today, what we're gonna do today? Let me think. Do you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do something really simple. We're gonna take stuff, we're gonna take people out of a photograph. I'm gonna do that in Photoshop. And it's one of the things I quite like doing. And there are a couple of arguments for not or doing it. The sort of purist photographer, they will tell you, no. My photo is my photo. That's exactly how I envisaged it. That's exactly how it should stay. Don't crop it, don't touch it. Print it in its entirety, basically, and leave it as is. It's artwork, it's art. That's exactly how the artist visioned it. It's a bit like cutting the head off the Mona Lisa and saying, actually, do you know what, I just want the face. But for me, I quite enjoy taking people out of photos. I quite enjoy altering the photograph afterwards to give me options for different things that I want to do. So, like for instance, if I'm going to design something up, I might only have this portion of a photo, or I might take that, or I might cut it so that it's just sort of here rather than here. And you can see it sort of crops in the viewer so that you can see what you're wanting, the message you're wanting to get. Change the colours, that kind of thing. Maybe this colour doesn't quite go with the rest of the sort of look I'm going for. So I'll change the colour of it so that it fits in a little bit more appropriate. And we do that in film as well. We do that when we're grading film and we're colour grading film. We'll think, you know what, that top wants to be a little bit deeper red, or it wants to be a completely different colour of an actress or an actor. So we'll change the colour of it if we need to match the scene so that it looks a little bit more realistic. So yeah, I quite enjoy doing it. It's one of the things that's sort of fairly simple to do. It's fairly simple to do now, given how powerful Photoshop is. And it's done in a couple of different methods. And the way I do it, I use two things to do my removal. I use the clone stamp tool to start with, and I also use content aware. And I use both those in concert on the same image. I don't just pick one and think, oh, I'll just go with that, that's brilliant. I make sure I use both because I find that gets me the best results. And I know some of the photographers out there are going to be grimacing and you don't take things out of photos, but I think it's a great idea, and I think it's an invaluable thing that you can have. It gives you more options. It means you can have 3 or 4 photos from that one photo rather than just the one that you initially had. So with that, let's go into Photoshop, get an image up, and let's remove some people and see how it's done. Okay, so we're into Photoshop and we've got our photo loaded in, and we have this beautiful waterfall, and we've got these people sat here, and let's say we have been asked to remove these people for a different project. So first things first, let's zoom in slightly. So Command plus to just zoom in, and then we'll just scroll the image so that they're in the center, just so we can get a better view of what these people are here and what's on the side. Take a look at your photo and see what's there. There's some rope there, and looks like some rope tying that up there. We'll probably be able to get rid of that as well, but more or less get rid of these people. So first things first, let's just duplicate this layer and turn the background one off. So we've got 2 layers, and they both are duplicate of each other. So we'll rename this one, and we'll call this one Edit. And the reason for that is just so that we know that we're working off one layer and not off the other. And then, right, first things first, we're going to go up here and we're going to go to this little, what looks like a plaster, which is the spot healing. And you can see it there, it's spot healing brush tool. So we'll click on that and you get like a little ring up. You can see the little ring here. Now you can use the bracket keys, the square bracket keys, to make the circle larger or smaller. Now the idea behind this is that what you're removing, your circle should just about cover or just cover over what you're removing. So when you click on it, you're not taking in a huge amount of, we're not trying to remove that girl's head and we're doing that with it, because that's just far too much. There's processing power, etc., will needed to do that. Will give you a terrible result. Photoshop will lose what it's trying to do. So the idea is to do this in very small and deliberate ways. So we make sure we've got type content aware selected, not create texture or proximity match, so you want content aware. And then what we do is we do it in small strands. So I'm going to start here and I draw a line across her face. And then I start again and I just keep doing that, basically, until I've got rid of the majority of what I want rid of. And the reason you do it in small strands is because content aware needs to be able to process the image behind what it feels is behind that image. And if you notice, I'm painting halfway over and halfway off the image I want to remove. So I'm not just drawing a line immediately over what I want to remove. And I'm also trying to do it in the line and direction of the thing that I'm trying to do. So her legs go down to the floor, so I'm doing it down to the floor. And as we get to where we need to be, and we get to there, what we can do is then start on this guy here and start doing the same thing again. So we'll start by removing his head. As you can see, it's pretty easy. It's just started removing it straight away. No problems whatsoever. It's doing what it needs to do. We can just click on there and get rid of that. We keep going as we do. And it's just little strokes. There's nothing, we don't need to go mad and start colouring in the entire thing, because content aware will just, Photoshop will just get lost with what it's trying to do, and you'll end up in a situation where you've got more work to do rather than less. So as you can see, we're initially getting rid of all this here, and we're trying to get rid of all the larger areas first rather than the smaller areas. And again, you just keep going. Now, once we get down to this sort of section where we're at a point where we've got two sets of stumpy legs, we now need to reduce the size of our content aware fill, because we don't want it to overwrite the balustrade here. We don't want this banister bit removing. So we'll get as close as we can to that, like so. And we'll do the same with her, like so. Apologies for the fan on my MacBook going crazy. Now down here you can see that down in this section here we've got some of the walkway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it roughly the same width as the walkway, and I'm just going to paint across the feet. And I'm going to keep painting up in order to try and remove his leg. Make that tiny bit bigger, just to give it a little bit more to work with. See, it's picking up this here, but we'll come back to that in a second when we come back to fix up these tiny little bits that we need to fix up. Because the idea is you're not going to use this to do, it's not a one-stop shop. It's basically, it's a tool that gets you started and does the majority of the work for you. Okay, so that's where we are at the moment. We've still got his leg in there, as we can see, because it's quite dark, so it doesn't really know what it's trying to remove. And we know there's greenery behind there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move across to the clone stamp tool. We're going to come up here, we're going to hit Alt, because we know that that bit there is where it wants to be. And we're going to click, so that's given us, that's now taking from where that mouse point is, from that bit there, it's taking the clone stamping, it's taking the stamp of that. So when I move across to here, look, as you can see, it's stamping that. It's also stamping that very nice sort of stark edge of that piece of bamboo. And the same here, sort of half on, half off, and just go along a tiny bit at a time. Now what we can do is we can go on here and we can clone stamp in, make it a little bit larger,
We can clone stamp back in the barrier. Come down here. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. We know that there, so we'll push that across there, and across there, and then across there. Put some of that in, just to sort of liven that up a little bit. And then down here, what we'll do is, we know that that there is the rock, so we can clone stamp that back in, and we can clone stamp that back in, and we can clone stamp the edge back in, and then here we'll clone stamp that in, and then here we'll clone stamp the greenery back in. And don't be frightened to keep taking parts of the image. There we go. So we've got that there like that. So let's zoom in slightly more so that we can see this part here, because that doesn't quite look right. And we'll change the heading, the edging, to be a little bit harder. Take a portion of it, like so, and then we'll take some of this and build that back in. So now we've built that bit of poling back in there. That still looks a little bit too woolly for me, so let's zoom in here. And let's just scrub across there, and let's just scrub across that, and let's just scrub across there. So we followed roughly what we think the rock might look like. So we've got sort of an idea of where we are now, and we're just going to check and make sure that that is not a foot there, which it is. So from here we'll just make our tool a tiny bit wider, take a nice big lump of that, and then bring it down and get rid of it. And the same with that bit there. And then we'll put that all the way across to there, like so. Just bring that in. And that is that. Now if you want to get rid of that rope, it's the same, basically the same process. As we can see, there's some rope there. So in effect, what we can do is go back up to the clone stamp tool and just sort of clone across the top of it a little bit. Like so. And then we'll build that back in from this point here, and from this point here, and from here. So we'll just rebuild that rock, like so. Take that out from there. Mask that out there and there. And there you have it, guys. People disappeared. And it looks absolutely fantastic. It's just an empty scene without any people in it whatsoever.
That was it, guys. So it's pretty simple to do, and it's pretty easy, and just have fun with it. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy the time of deleting people out of photos. Go on, just download photos and start removing people left, right, centre. Get out. And have a laugh with it and enjoy it, and make more use of the images you've taken. Sometimes you take a photo, it's absolutely stunning, and there's just a person, tiny person in the corner. You've got a huge waterfall, tiny person in the corner. You've been at Iceland or wherever, and you think, excuse me, you think that'd be a great photo if that guy wasn't in there. Well, now you know you can take him out and or her out, and no harm done. So that's it. If you enjoyed this tutorial, you thought it was useful and it gave you some inspiration and some ideas, or it didn't, please do like and subscribe below. Smash all those buttons, hit them all, the bell, the subscribe, the like, the dislike. Go on, dislike it. I dare you. Go on, hit them all, and I will see you guys next week.